Why would I pay attention?
The AirPods are there. Hey guys, we are
What am I
going
supposed to do?
live. So it's Saturday night. The kids are away at school, right? And we need to get alive. And we haven't gone live in a very long time. And so we decided, it's Saturday, and we started having what we thought was a really interesting conversation. We have not had any wine or anything like that. And I'm getting notifications. Let me move this off. Okay. My I know. And so, anyway, so yeah, people are joining us. They're finding us. So,
Bless their hearts.
bless their hearts. So, like I said, the kids are away at school, and we watched a movie last night. Like, there's only so much movie and TV you can watch. Like that, it's like got to be the what third or fourth movie I've watched this year. Like that's too much. But anyway, so David and I were sitting on the sofa, and there's like this game that he plays, and sometimes I look over his shoulder and try to play it too. And he had stopped doing that, and then we had looked at like the news. Talked about the headlines, oh wow, COVID's bad. I mean, just we'd gone through all that stuff.
Warned Banjo that he had to
Um,
stop aggravating us.
Banjo had huffed because he didn't eat all of his dinner, and Winston finished the plate, and so Banjo has been mad about that. Like this is our life. We have got to do something more exciting. But anyway, so we're scrolling through Facebook, and there was a post that caught my eye. And it reminded me, like, it was not, this is like, could be any people. Okay. So this could be this, yeah, it's not an uncommon question. But this woman, this was not in my group. But this question has been asked in my group before. So, oh, Jan's in Melbourne. I can't see the thing. Jan's in Melbourne. Hi in Melbourne. And Nancy from Kentucky. Nancy, I think, may have been cooking with us earlier today when we did the cooking class for the community. We made stuffed grape leaves, which is a lot of fun. But
Anyway,
anyway,
anyway.
this is a very common question that we get. So women will join my Facebook group or they'll ask on this page, they'll say, my husband needs to lose weight. And David knows where I'm going with this. They'll say, or I really want my husband to do keto. And they'll ask questions like, what should I have him eat? What should I make him eat? Right? They have seen it. What should his macros be? So tonight I'm scrolling through, and hi, Colleen and Pam. Pam has that cool picture of us doing the things together. People are like, did you have wine? We did not have wine. I promise we did not have wine. You can have a glass of dry white wine. Last night we had mojitos. This is how bored we are. But anyway, so we're scrolling through Facebook, and this woman says, like, my husband and I are going to start keto, and what about his servings? How big should I make his portions? How big should his servings be? And so I'm reading this, and my eyes are getting like bigger as I'm reading this because I went back in time. I did a little time trip. And do you remember it was in June of 2013? I had read Gary Taubes' book, Why We Get Fat. And hi, Annie in Massachusetts. I had read Gary Taubes' Why We Get Fat. And I said to David, I'm going to do this plan. It was Eric Westman's plan, Dr. Westman, in the back of the book. And it was like no sugar, no starch, no bread, no pasta, no potatoes, no rice. And David said,
Good luck with that.
he did. He said, no way. No, no way. And so he said, good luck with that. Now, can you imagine if I said to him, no, you only get 4 pieces of bacon, buddy. Can you imagine? But what ended up happening, and I'll tell this story in case you've missed it. What ended up happening is I started eating this way. I started cutting out the carbs, and I would do like a grilled meat and a veggie that I could enjoy, a salad, green beans, low carb veg, and then I would fix the starch for him and the kids. So I'd do pasta or potatoes or rice or something like that. And then he lost weight, just me doing that change, just me making that minor change. He started losing weight.
Without me doing anything.
Yeah, and he was still drinking
Except eat.
Pepsi.
Yeah.
and still
Eating
eating.
what I wanted to.
Yeah, so at lunch, you were eating what you wanted to, but pretty much eating what I fixed for breakfast and dinner, right?
Sure.
But anyway, and we've laughed before about servings, about portions with us, because I will make crack slaw that in my cookbook is like 8 servings. And at the end of the night, I'm like scraping the pan to like have enough for him for lunch the next day. And so we eat very differently. In fact, I've been trying to do this thing for the cooking community, and I bought a pack of tenderloins. I've been trying to track what I'm spending and the meals that we're getting out of it. So I bought 1.77 pounds, right? 24 ounces of pork tenderloin. So I was like, okay, 24 ounces of pork tenderloin, about 3 ounces for me, about 5 ounces for him. Like, how many meals should I be able to get from this? Two and a half.
Well,
I
you
guess
thought
I went,
six.
I actually thought, yeah, I thought I could get 6 meals, and we might have gotten two and a half. And like,
Well, you had one,
I had
and
it
I've had
twice,
three.
and he had it 3 times. I guess we technically got 5 meals. But my third meal with it was 2.5 ounces because I
Well,
weighed it. I weighed it because I was putting eggs with it to try and bump the protein a little bit. But anyway, so I digress. But anyway, so I go through, I'm scrolling through, and keep this in mind that, like I've always counted at least a third of a pound of meat whenever I'm cooking for us. And nowadays I'm doing more like I'm estimating a half pound or there's just not enough, right? Kristen Parker is saying the same thing. So I'm scrolling through Facebook and this woman says, my husband and I are going to start keto and I want to know about his servings. How large should I make his portions? And I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at her. Our relationship is just very different. And then someone says, you should make him do intermittent fasting. And that's when I was like, hold the phone. And I looked at David and I was like, okay, do you remember when I said to you, we're going to do this and no potatoes, no pasta, no rice, right? And you said, no way. Like, can you imagine if I said, honey, husband who has done Weight Watchers with me, and he got 70 points and I got 4 for the day. Like, gee, can you imagine if I was like, you're not going to drink your Pepsi? Mm-mm, no. And you're only going to have this much.
yeah, I'd probably have doubled how much Pepsi I drink.
He would have, and that's the thing. But hold on a minute. And if I said you're getting one hamburger patty, you get one third hamburger patty. Like, can you imagine what you would? And then we're gonna fast. So, honey, you eat this meal with this serving at 6 o'clock for your dinner, and you're not eating again for 2 days. Or you can eat again tomorrow at lunch. Like, what would you have said to me?
I would have said, no way, you're crazy. And that would be the polite version.
So we started like talking about that, but it is so true. And we're gonna get serious in just a minute, but it's so true because women will say, like, my husband needs to lose weight. He has XYZ health condition, or he snores, or he's like, 75 pounds overweight, whatever it is. But it's these women who mean so well. And it's usually a partner who's legitimately worried. But then that person wants to know how much they should, like, how to control that person's diet. And David and I were laughing because I was like, can you imagine? It's okay, honey, you're going to fast. You're going to finish dinner
With the one hamburger,
with a one burger patty. You can have a salad, don't
the quarter
worry.
pound
You can
burger.
and you can have a salad with it. And you're not eating again until tomorrow. I was like, can you imagine? Like, I would have to take all of his credit cards. I would have to lock every cabinet, every refrigerator, every freezer. I call
Hide my phone.
Grubhub, hide his phone because he would eat. And not only would he eat, not only would it be like
But
hunger.
if you try to restrict me that way, I'm going to probably end up eating more
Well, and that's,
because
he
I'm
said,
going to find a way.
because you're going to, what?
Find a way. I mean, you can't hide it all. I've got food stashed, and I don't eat everything. I did have that jar of Nutella.
He was so addicted to Nutella. And we had been doing low carb, and I knew he had not been eating Nutella, but we were cleaning out the garage, and I found a big jar, like the Sam's Club jar of Nutella, in a cabinet in the in the garage, and I was like, "What? Where did this come from?" And he's like, "That's my emergency stash." And I was like,
It was a year or two old at that
it was
point,
way
so
out of date. It was
yeah,
way, and I
wouldn't have
don't even
eaten it.
think it was open. I
It
don't think it
was.
was open at all. I don't know. It was like for the
I'd held on to it.
I don't know, the
Sentimental value.
zombie apocalypse or something. But the point in that is there's this power thing at play. And that was why in the beginning it was like, this is what I'm going to do. And if you want to join me, right? But even when he said no way, and I think that comes down to that whole autonomy. And he's like, you would have eaten more. And we laugh now because he's like, well, you do these little passive aggressive things. He assumes I'm being passive aggressive sometimes when I'm not. Sometimes he doesn't get it, but I am being passive aggressive. But I will do things like, like if I make like 3 pounds of meat in a meal and there's like 8 servings there, 8 large servings. There's a lot of Australians up and watching us.
Yeah.
But anyway, and hello to all our Aussie friends. But I will say things like, honey, if you don't go back for fifths, if you don't go back for thirds and fourth servings, you can take some for lunch tomorrow.
Or,
And so I will say
sweetheart,
that.
there were 6 servings in the pan.
Or this is supposed to be 6 servings. What do you think? I'm doing this new recipe for a book. There's supposed to be 6 servings. What do you think? And he's just like steady eating. So I do
Six
that
servings
to
for,
him. I do that for him. Kristen
yeah, I
Parker
mean,
is watching, and Kristen said she started having to do that with her kids. So Kristen has teenage boys and a really active husband, and she said that she had to plan at least like I think a third pound of meat, third pound of protein for her meals for that. But it becomes this power thing, right? I mean, I think that's an important part of the autonomy.
well, maybe. I mean, but I think the autonomy is important
Oh,
because if you don't, if you're trying to force something on me, I'm going to react in a negative way. The way it happened for us when you were, I'm going to do this. It's like great, have fun, go with it. I'm not about to. But after 2 weeks, it was like, holy cow, I've lost weight. I've done nothing more than just eat. Okay, tell me what to eat.
and you've eaten good food. You liked
Yeah,
the,
oh, it's
and that was
delicious
the
food.
key. I really think that was the key. More than restricting him and telling him what he could not have, I think it was helping him replace those foods with really good stuff because he wasn't feeling restricted.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that David did when he first started, and I think this was so much autonomy, he was
And
like,
she hated it.
I hated it. I
Hated it.
hated it, but I could not say anything because I'm not that wife. You will never see me if you go back and search Facebook. You will never see me say, "What can I allow my husband to have?" Because that is the day that we're making the list of I get this chair and he gets that sofa. But anyway, so but but he would take Fridays off. I do not recommend this. I do not recommend this, and I could not have done it, but he would take Fridays off. And so Fridays were like, and we didn't call them cheat days. They were just his day off. So he would eat pretty strict, like all through the weekends. I was really eating strict. So he was pretty strict. And then Friday would come. But what was interesting is like, he didn't, as far as I know, like he never like went to the buffet and
No.
gorged. He would just if he wanted a Pepsi, like that was his big thing, is he didn't want to give up Pepsi. So if he wanted a Pepsi, and we started buying the cans so that he could have one a day. And
One on Friday.
yeah, one a Friday, one a week. I'm sorry, one a week. It started, I think, one a day, and then you went to one a week. But anyway, we went out to dinner one Friday night with friends, and we were at a steakhouse, and they passed the bread basket. Do you remember?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They
Because you told me I could have whatever I wanted to have.
That was our agreement on Friday. He just had what he wanted to. I was still trying to help him. I mean, there was this delicate
Trying to
balance.
help me.
No, no, no. There was this delicate balance because you're like, tell me what to eat, but then you didn't want me to tell you what to
Oh well,
eat.
that night I knew what I was
Oh,
doing.
yeah, I know. But that night, so this was kind of the give and take. And so that night, he'd been doing really, really well. But we're at the steakhouse and they passed the bread basket. and he reaches in the bread basket and gets a piece of bread. Now, this is in 2013. I still remember it like it was yesterday. And my eyes probably got like really big, like, I can't believe he's doing this. I'm watching him, and there's probably a kid between us because the kids are young enough. We'd like seat them between us at restaurants. And he grabs a piece of bread and he sees me looking at him, and our eyes lock. And of course, I'm being very judgy McJudgy, like, you're not going to eat that bread. And he, can you do the look? Can you do it?
Well, I don't know what look it was. I couldn't see it, but it was.
Oh, yeah. He looked me dead in the eye, picked up that bread, and took a bite, looking me in the eye. And so this is what I live with. So when we're scrolling through Facebook and we see this woman say, my husband and I started keto on Monday. Tell me what I should do about his portions. I'm like, who are you married to? And we did have a good chuckle. And then someone on the thread said you should make him do intermittent fasting. And that's when we like just looked at each other and we're like, that's a divorce. Like these people are wrecking their marriage right there. You can't do that. Because the other thing that happened, and you all may have heard me tell this story before, David would do his little Fridays off. And finally, one afternoon, one Friday, he calls me Friday at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock on the way home and says, I am so mad at you. Jenny Louder. Jenny knows you. Jenny's like, yeah, the defiance. He called me and he's like, I'm so mad at you. And I was like, what? I mean, I'm fixing dinner. What's your problem, dude? You're mad at me? And he's like, you ruined it. I'm like, what did I ruin now? And he's like, the Pepsi doesn't taste good anymore. And we were on the phone, so he couldn't see me, but I got like the biggest winning smile on my face. But I think what was significant about that was he had to decide it wasn't worth it. Now, if we went to a restaurant now and I saw him pull bread out of a bread basket, I'd just go straight to the car. I'd be like, "Are you kidding me right now?" Or I'd take him straight to the ER because I'm like, "Something broken. He's broken. Something's wrong with him," because he doesn't do that at this point. But but at that point, there would have been a power struggle. Like, are we weird? I'm looking at some of your comments. Are we weird? Like, would y'all have this? What would your husband say if, like, you restrict, or wife? What would your wife even say? Like, if there were restricted portions? I
Hey,
mean,
you can have this quarter of a patty of a hamburger.
can you
Congratulations.
imagine? Or, honey, you're not losing weight as fast as you should. You should fast. You'd be back at the hospital. We'd be back at the ER. I can't imagine. And it's that power because I also know, and I'm going to switch this and put myself in that place. A really important, and again, if you've read my story, you know this. Within the first 2 weeks or so of me being very strict, David's family came, his mom and dad came, and we went out to, yeah, Kristen is great, right. Kristen Parker says, I never tell another grown adult what to do, even if you're fixing the food and buying the groceries, right? But his family came down and we went to a different steakhouse. It's not stay away from the steakhouses. Oh, exactly. Lauren's a smart woman. Lauren is so smart. She said, I would tell Joe he would, yeah, exactly. He's going to eat whatever he wants to eat, right? But we ended up remember, we went to the steakhouse and they had rolls. Thankfully, this was the kind of steakhouse that also had peanuts. Yes, I know it's a legume, but I was so happy to have those peanuts because his family is like scarfing up these rolls. And his mom, bless her, she loves that butter, that honey
Oh
butter.
yeah.
She loves that honey butter. So she's like getting extra honey butter and she's putting it on those rolls. And she's like, this is so good. And she's just eating it right in front of us. And this is so good. Don't you want some? And we're both being very like, oh, no, thank you. You enjoy it. And then she's like, oh, yeah, that's right. You can't have this. Do you remember that? You don't remember it.
I, I remember going to the restaurant. I don't remember.
You don't remember that? Oh my goodness. When she said, oh, that's right, you can't have this. My 3-year-old, my inner 3-year-old, like sat up and that, oh, yes, I can. Yes, I can. I can eat anything on that table. I can eat anything in this restaurant, but I don't want to. And that was important to me. That was an important, I didn't say anything out loud. I never said anything out loud. But there was like this whole big um, conversation in my head when it's like, wait a minute, I can have those yeast rolls. Because as soon as she told me I couldn't have them, I'm like, my hands start in that direction. But I sat there and thought, well, wait a minute, I don't want those because I know what happens when I eat those yeast rolls, right? Like, I've been morbidly obese most of my life. I was sitting at that table, probably weighing 250, 260 pounds, and which, I was so unhappy that size and realizing that, well, wait a minute, I could equate eating that roll with being morbidly obese. And so there was this satisfaction for me. I'm just going to say it. It was like a smugness with, I don't want it. I don't want it. It's not that I can't have it, it's that I don't want it. And reframing it that way for me was really important. That autonomy, that control. You weren't being the adult telling me no, but it was me adulting, right? I mean, isn't that the same kind of thing if I had been like, you can't have that, Pepsi?
I would have had to.
Because he's got a bigger 3-year-old that throws bigger tantrums than my 3-year-old.
I don't throw
Um,
tantrums.
his 3-year-old does.
I do not throw
But
tantrums.
yeah. So, honey,
Yes,
what
dear.
do you think? Should we do some fasting?
Well, I will probably fast for 8 hours tonight.
Okay, you just had, before we went live,
But see, I will go to sleep and I won't eat anything until I get up.
but it's like 9 o'clock now.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he won't eat anything, but because I know what he does. He goes to let the dog out. Like, even if we go on to bed, he'll get up like at 10 or 10:15. I'm gonna go let the dogs out. And while the dogs are out, the bacon comes out. Tell me it's not true.
Although it might not come out anymore, as expensive as that stuff is, but still.
Yeah, the bacon, the pre-cooked bacon that David gets has gone up like crazy amounts of expensive. And so I was like, you may have to go off this, buddy. The budget's not loving this.
But I mean, let's go back to the whole idea of portion control, though. And what are adequate portions? I mean, that's the beauty of keto. You don't have to worry about the portion size as much, or maybe even at all. You eat until you're not hungry anymore.
But I think yes and no. I do.
Are
He's
you
like,
disagreeing with me?
never. Um, yes and no. I do think you do have to be careful. Can you overeat on keto? Yes,
Oh,
yes,
sure.
you can. And especially, I think I've been guilty of really overdoing the fats. I think I've been guilty of that, of too much fat. And sometimes when it tastes so good, it is, I mean, I've overeaten nuts when I wasn't hungry.
Well,
I still struggle a lot with stress eating, and you've seen it. I mean, it's still a struggle if we're being totally honest. But
but those nuts have a lot of carbs in them.
I can't, the nuts have a lot of carbs. I can't overeat like, ground beef the way I would overeat cashew nuts, right?
Hmm.
Or roasted broccoli. Oh my gosh. I can overeat those kinds of things much more than I can overeat protein. So I think if you're being really careful, if you're prioritizing protein and you're not like putting butter on everything, then I think then it is harder to overeat. But if you're having like butter in your coffee is easy to overeat.
Well, that's true. Boy, I knew that.
Yeah, because it tastes so good. I'm looking for comments from folks who are watching. But
Well,
anyway,
anyway,
back to the topic at hand. Dear friends, if you want your spouse or your significant other to do this journey with you, then I would suggest a different approach. Instead of telling your beloved that they're going to like what they're going to eat and how much they're going to eat. I would, and we had to do this with Jonathan. This isn't just a David thing. We had to do this with Jonathan as well. I would suggest you start by kind of explain the rules a little bit to them. Like,
Yeah.
let them know, like, what matters. I've got a funny Jonathan story I'll tell you one day. Are the dogs outside, by the way?
No,
No, they're
listen to
inside.
them.
Okay. The dogs are quiet. But anyway, so I would start by one kind of explaining the rules, explaining the protein, the carb, the fat kind of thing, so that they're aware, not in a didactic prescriptive kind of you have to do this, but just kind of give them the general, the cliff notes to it, and then like woo them with the food, woo
Yeah.
them. I mean, did I not woo you?
Oh, I was wooed, baby. I was wooed.
Because there were times that really, if you think back, there were times when you were like, we can eat this.
Sure.
I mean, he would be like, "Are you sure
Oh,
we can
well,
eat
yeah.
this? Are you sure?" Yeah. And
Yeah.
what would prompt you to ask me, "Are you sure we can eat this?"
Because it was so good. I
Because
mean,
it was so good.
I wasn't Weight Watcher dieting. I wasn't depriving myself. I was enjoying the food. And
Yeah.
it was good food.
And losing weight and stopping snoring and blood pressure normalizing and all those kinds of healthy things, right? That were nice little byproducts of that whole thing. But anyway, we just saw that and we couldn't help. But anyway, okay, so I'm sorry, let me back up. So first of all, kind of explains the general rules. Second of all, help them figure out what foods they like. Like feed them really good foods and help them figure it out. I took Jonathan to the grocery store and we went through the aisles and started talking about what would he like, what would he eat because he had to have. I took Jonathan to the grocery store.
I
I
was
don't know
trying to
what he's
find the
doing.
comments.
Anyway, I took him to the grocery store and had him pick out things that he would like because I wanted Jonathan same kind of thing and with grace. I didn't want either of them to feel really restricted. I wanted them to find those foods that they could enjoy because I knew that that's what would sustain them doing it because I'm not going to be there all the time, right? So anyway, so help them find the foods that explain the general rules, help them find the foods they love, and then give them that encouragement, give them that positive reinforcement. Like, honey, you're gonna have to have some smaller pants. I mean, I remember buying you like size like 36 pants and then 34 pants, and he was wearing my brother's 33s, and that was really motivating. Like that was really a very cool thing. Mandy
This is
says,
an interesting comment. Ask him to change his diet for 4 months instead, and he did. And for me, it wasn't 4 months. It was the first 2 weeks, and then it was we need to make a 2 week commitment to this. I'm like, okay, I can do two
right.
weeks.
Well, and that's what I had did that, or that I had done. That's what I had did. That's what I had done. I had decided I was going to try it for 2 weeks. So I was going to give it 2 weeks, come heck or high water. Um, I was going to stay, 2 weeks because I felt like I had to give it 2 weeks to know if it would work or not. And so then that's kind of where I think we got the 2 weeks from, was 2 weeks for me. Um, oh, good. Kathy says her husband loves the Parmesan crisp made from the pork rind, the Parmesan rinds. We did that on a Sunday night with the Sullivans. Now it's Saturday night with the Sullivans because the Sullivans have no life.
Hey, we're getting
Um,
one. We're expanding.
oh, if you haven't shared the video already, I should have said share it in the big group so people can find it. But yeah, so explain the rules, give them food, ply them, woo them with good keto food, and then help them find those foods that they're going to enjoy, that they're going to seek out. Um, and Deirdre says that her grandson's due in October, and that's her why. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. Know
If
your why.
if you can figure out your why, that was huge for me. That was my focus. I actually wrote myself little affirmations on my phone. They're still in iNotes. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, they're still there. Just that whole like remember how you felt, yeah, in this situation or that situation, and the little reminders to me that when I could look at that yeast roll, I would equate it with that negativity and be like, you know what, it doesn't taste good when I think about what it does to me, in terms of health.
Deidre, A1C numbers.
Yeah, A1C, hemoglobin A1C, that is, that's life changing. Mandy says your video confession about quitting diet sodas changed his life. Well, let me tell you about that.
Oh well, well, I think I was Diet Sun Kissed.
Yeah, he was on Diet Sunkist at the
I
time.
don't drink that.
He's got a different poison now. I can't wrestle
It,
those away, but I'm not going to. That has to be his decision. Um, Wow.
Oh,
Yeah. Husband's triple bypass is a big why.
oh,
Oh,
that's
good.
cool.
Donna says her son is coming this weekend and wants to learn coding. What are you going to fix for him? I hope you make him something that he will really, really enjoy and something that's easy enough he can make himself, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Jon-
Excellent.
Jonathan, Jonathan has taken three of the books with him to the dorm, and I don't think he's probably not cooked anything yet. He might have made
Oh,
iced tea. He wanted to make iced tea. He missed unsweet tea, but anyway, he did take the books with him, so it'll be interesting to see. I bet he hasn't made anything, but it'll be interesting to see if he has. He's going to be home on Thursday. I'm not counting the hours.
she's counting the seconds.
Can't wait to have them home again. Well, at least Jonathan. I don't know. Grace may never come home until like the dorms close and they get kicked out at Christmas time. But yeah, Jay took he took keto living day by day because those are pretty easy recipes. He took crazy busy because those are pretty easy, and he took growing up keto. And it was kind of funny because he wanted different recipes from different books, so he took them for different reasons.
So do you suppose he wanted growing up keto because his name might appear in there?
I don't know. I know the 5 minute lasagna is a good one. Yeah, I can't remember why he wanted growing up keto. I don't remember what recipe he wanted out of that now. Now, maybe, no,
No.
he's not going to make the chili. I don't remember. I
Well,
don't remember. I know that he wanted to take keto living day by day because the iced tea recipe is in that. Um, it may have been for the minute muffins. He loves those chocolate minute muffins, but he wouldn't have the ingredients for that for growing up. I don't
hey,
know. We'll have to ask
we
him.
could make him a batch of the
Dry mixes,
mixes.
we
Yeah.
need to do that because he will do. Well, maybe he'll do that. Mix it with an egg and put it in the microwave, and
Yep.
maybe he'll do that. Anyway, we are kind of being silly, but please, I would really strongly encourage you if there's someone in your life that you care about and that you would like for them to make some changes, help them do it. But I think we have to be really careful not to be so prescriptive and didactic and make them do it because I don't know how well that would play in my
It's
house.
hard to make me do something.
Yeah,
Well,
and
but
vice
it's hard to make
versa.
you do. Yes, it's hard to make you do something. I say, would you do so or do so and so? It's like, you tell me to do it. That makes me not want to do
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, can imagine if he was like, okay, when I come home, you need to make sure you vacuum. The carpet would rot.
it. It would.
The carpet would rot. So, I mean, it's kind of a two-way street, whatever he wants me to do. The same thing with the shoes and the floor. But that's another conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you all for joining us so impromptu. It was really fun sharing that story. We just started laughing. I was like, okay, we need to go live because, and like I said, the whole thing that struck me was this woman and her husband. Apparently, the husband has agreed to do it, which is fabulous. And that's a really great start. He's agreed to do it. But then she's asking about restricting his portions. And Kathy says her husband's laughing. And then when somebody suggested put him on intermittent fasting, I was like,
Sorry.
I mean,
Just,
maybe no, maybe if he was bedridden and I had to feed him,
oh,
like
yeah. You
the
could probably do that.
maybe I could do that. He'd probably throw things at me, but
Winston?
yeah, he would get Winston to bring him stuff. But yeah, when we saw that, we just like, okay, we're gonna go live and share this. Yeah, Lucy agrees. She thinks the mixes for
Yeah,
Jonathan are a good
I
idea
do that.
because he's done them before. When I've made the dry mix, he's done them here at the
Yeah.
house. So just getting him to do that. The only thing is, the little rascal has figured out that when he eats at school, he has to wash his plates and bowls. And he had called me. He's like, "Mom, can you get me more bowls?" And I was like, "What happened to your bowls? Did they break?" And he's like, "No," and they were dirty. Well, one, he hadn't washed them, so he wanted more bowls so you didn't have to wash dishes so much. Oh, good. Somebody said they made the taco seasoning and that how good it was. The taco seasoning, Annie said I made the taco seasoning for the first time this week. It was a game changer. That's really nice to know. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us. I don't know if we're going to start doing like weekend lives or not.
I don't know, but it's so cool to do it at this time and see all the folks from Australia joining
Yeah, a
in. I
lot of the
mean, that,
Aussies because it's Sunday
yeah.
for them.
Sunday morning.
It's Sunday morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This
it's
is
kind
really
of,
cool.
yeah, it is really cool. She says her husband's, they've been married long enough that her husband knows to eat what's put before him. That True. Same thing for David. Yeah, he knows.
Oh,
He knows better
I'm happy to eat what's put before me.
most of the time. There are a few times when he'll say, "Yeah, this isn't. I don't care if you make this one again." Oh yeah, and Sue in Japan.
Oh,
Sue
that's
and her family.
cool.
Yeah. But anyway, we just
Oh,
thought it was kind of a fun thing to do, to share that, especially as we saw that post and we're like, honey, let's fast.
I love you, sweetheart, but not today.
No, we just could not imagine that at our house. But anyway, let us know in the comments how that might work at your house. It may, I mean, relationships are different.
Sure.
So maybe for somebody else that works. And if you're one of those spouses who can tell your husband what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat,
Do not
please
call. Do
share
not
your
call. No,
secrets with
no, no,
me.
no.
I need to know your
No
secrets
reason.
because I've
No.
not been able to figure that out here at all. So I'm obviously doing something
Give me a
wrong.
call first.
Anyway, y'all have a great evening. Take care.